Welcome to At Balance, a company that provides workshops and services for well-being. At Balance was created by Jules, and our workshops are designed for young people and adults. Our Making Sense workshops, young people learn about the benefits of nature and how to create a signature scent. In our personal development sessions, designed for adults, they are designed to help individuals change the negative narrative that may be stunting their growth and development. The sessions are available on Saturdays from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. at London Bridge. In this episode of stress and stress management, we're going to talk about anxiety disorders, a mental health condition that can affect the quality of life for some individuals, sometimes to the extent that they need to take medication, have therapy, or use self-help services and information to improve the quality of their life. We've all experienced anxiety at some point. It is common. When we're born, we are born into anxiety. So the first thing that we seek is comfort and reassurance. Those of you that have children or are around children will know the anxieties they feel when their parent or caregivers is not around. So it's something that we are born with. There are different types of anxiety disorders, each having a unique characteristic. General anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and agoraphobia and social anxiety disorders are able to dramatically impact a person's life if it is untreated. One example of anxiety is you may see somebody that you know and you greet them and say hello and they ignore you. We may speculate at that time that we've done something wrong to that person, and there's no valid reason as to why we should feel this way. That's a general anxiety experience. We don't have the information that tells us that that person is upset with us, but we make a decision based on what's actually happened. It might be that that person is having a bad day or may not have heard you, but you may feel that you have wronged them in some way. And as a result, you worry so that next time you see this person, you may relive the feeling of anxiety and avoid and ignore them. Another type of worry or anxiety that you may experience can be for a valid reason. For example, if you're in a shop with an under 5 child and they wriggle from you and disappear, the anxiety that you will feel at the moment will be extremely high, because at that point your child is more vulnerable than they usually would be with you. And your reason for your anxiety is tangible. And the source of your anxiety will decrease once you're reunited with your child. one of the things that we try to do when we're helping people with anxiety is change their thinking pattern so that they can adapt and have a more accurate reflection of their reality. And one of the interventions that are really useful for doing this is cognitive behavioral therapy. I use this when I work with people that have anxiety because it has been found to have a positive effect on the symptoms of anxiety. According to Aaron Beck, the father of CBT, there are 11 common cognitive errors that we make in our thinking that cause anxiety. I'm just going to run through them. So the first one is all or nothing thinking, where we're not able to be flexible enough, where everything is either or, but there's no grey area, middle ground, where you find flexibility. So it's a very rigid thinking approach, which in reality, life is not like that. There'll always be that grey area that allows us to be adaptable, allows us to say maybe. The second one is overgeneralization. When we just make assumptions, like we may say, oh, I can't do that. But have you actually tried that? Have you actually tried to do it? So again, it's not taking a responsibility that you could. You may not be able to do it, but on the other hand, you might be able to do it. That we don't make sweeping generalizations. Discounting the positive. So if something good happens to you, acknowledge it. Sometimes we don't do that. We just discount it. If we achieve something, we're not pleased about the achievement. We don't acknowledge the achievement. That can leave a person feeling less than, not worth it, less valuable. Jumping to conclusions. Focusing on one aspect and making your judgment when you don't have the reality. Yeah, your judgment's important, but have some facts behind your judgment. Because it might be something completely different. As I've just said, when you met somebody and you said hello and they ignored you, there might be another reason. There are options. Mind reading. So this is kind of when you might believe that you know what the other person is thinking, but you don't really know the other person. We can't know what each other is thinking unless we have the information from the other person about what they're thinking. Fortune telling. Again, believing that you know what the future holds. We don't know what the future holds. We don't even know what the next 5 minutes could hold. Your heart could just stop in the next 5 minutes and you'll know more. Is quite a rigid approach to have, in that there may be other possibilities. You could do, there are other things you could do. Magnifying and minimizing. So if something negative happens to you, you could make it bigger, make it a big drama, or you could reduce it and say, "Oh, that was nothing." And it may have been something important, but it's the inability to put a balance to it in your evaluation. Emotional reasoning. So we're believing that because it feels true, it is true. Where's your reality? Making should statements. So that's when we think we ought to be doing things. It's not really that important that you have to do it. If you can't get it done, that's fine. You don't have to beat yourself up over the fact that you couldn't get it done. Labeling. So that's when we kind of label things. You might say to yourself, "Oh, I'm a bad person. Oh, I'm stupid." And with that, can you imagine the anxiety that can create to your sense of self, to who you are? So it's important not to give yourself labels that are unnecessary. To allow yourself to be human. Yeah, you might have done something wrong, but however, you may have done good things as well. So look for the good things that you've done as well. Don't just pile on a load of bad labels on yourself. Inappropriate blaming. So that's when we're not taking responsibilities for our actions. It's somebody else's fault that happened to me. How could it be somebody else's fault that happened to you when the experience was yours? You had choices in that experience. And the choices that you made, you need to take responsibility for. Blaming somebody else for something that is not anything to do with them is a way of just throwing away your responsibility. So if you're never ever able to take responsibility, you're always going to have anxiety in a bad way. When something goes wrong, yes, we look at it, we use hindsight and try and work out, okay, what could we have done better? But it's not a dwelling place, it's not a living place. Write it down. Sometimes we create goals and they don't go in the direction that we want them to go. We might have to adapt them. There's so much possibility in hindsight. Obviously, if there was a fatality, that's slightly different. You still have to ask the questions and find out. But if it's fairly minimal, then you don't need to beat yourself up over it. It happened. Write down what you could have done, what you're going to do better, and that's it. These are just some of the cognitive errors that Beck identified that can cause our anxieties. But in CBT, you can learn to develop adaptive thought patterns that are more accurate. You can look at the way when you're experiencing an anxiety, think about, where is it coming from? Why am I thinking like this? Where's my flexibility? Because what we say in balance is not everything has to be flat lined and level, but it's being able to go with the highs and go with the lows. So when you're low, you're not just stuck at low. You look for your possibilities. What can I adapt to bring this experience a little higher, to lower my anxiety? That is an important part of working with anxiety. People needing to understand, I need to have that flexibility. No, it's not perfect. I'm human and it's okay. There is a part of the brain that is activated when there is a threat. This area of the brain is known as the amygdala. This will alert you to danger when it becomes activated. And we generally respond with a fight response. The amygdala alerts us to the threats that are based on our previous experiences. It's unable to discriminate as to the level or type of threat that it's alerting you to. It just registers the threat in accordance with the memories that we've stored. For example, if you were sat outside and were stung by a bee, the next time you went out and you saw a bee, your amygdala will alert you of an impending threat that you could be stung. And this may result in you experiencing an anxiety and acting in a way to reduce the threat of being stung again. Now, in saying that, I'm going to highlight one thing. There are people that do have an allergy of bees, and obviously being stung by a bee can be dangerous to them. I'm not going to say, that it's not valid, it's an invalid thought, because some people may just have an allergy to bees. However, a lot of the time, if we've been stung by something, or we tripped down the stairs, or banged our knee on something, we will practice avoiding it next time we are confronted with it. So when we retrain the amygdala, it enables us to reduce anxiety. If anxiety is left untreated, it can become crippling, as it becomes the dominant factor in a person's life.